within a mobile application, but it was somehow very limited. We knew at that stage that connected car will grow as a requirement from our customers, and also as a demand from the market for both B2B use case and B2C use case. So in 2016, we decide partnering with Nissan and Microsoft to build a global platform that will come also with some onboard development to do more services, connected services to support our business. So back in 2016, we signed this big contract with Microsoft and Nissan. And in 2019, we launched the first generation of this platform. And also from the onboard perspective, the product that is known as EasyLink that has been launched with the Clio 5 in Europe. So this first generation was really extending the number of services, particularly for EV, because we knew at that time that EV was the target. I mean, all vehicles being targeted to be EV at some point in Europe. And we started growing also our B2B service based, in particularly on data. We continue growing this platform, and with this platform, and we are talking about the off-board platform, obviously there are some parts that are also developed for onboard. Number of ECU that was also being developed for being connected ready, I will say. And we launched in 2022 the second generation from a commercial standpoint, which is known Open Air Link. It is coming with Megane E-Tech in Europe. And we manage, most importantly, to keep the same platform, which is quite unique situation for us in OEM, because we are used to redo systems completely when a big change like this is coming. But here in that case, we managed to develop additional service for these cars based on the same platform that we started with Microsoft. So today we change also the balance, I will say, between onboard and off-board, because now the platform is obviously supporting cars, but it's also part of the ecosystem that is delivering even more value for customers, that is creating new business opportunity for our companies, and just continue growing, because we have more than 3.5 million of cars now on this platform, and it's allow us to really explore a new area, I will say. So that's a big journey here, very shortly summarized. Behind the scene, there is a lot of change and transformation when it's come to how we manage this kind of development in parallel of developing new cars, of course. So I hand it over to you, Mirelis, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, thank you, Frederic. Yes, and let's move to Sato-san to discuss Nissan's connected car journey.
Yes, hello everyone. Thank you for joining. So this is a Nissan connected car journey. From 1998, we provided the CCS service as we call telematics. First stage, we use customer mobile phone to connect the off-board system. And there are several main services: destination setting, information service, fastest route, and driving score. And this is for Japan market only. And the first generation as a connected car service. 2010, we started the global service from Japan. And this purpose is support electric vehicle. And we, at that time, we used on-premise server. And at that time, we developed the first communication device we call TCU, and 500,000 cars are connected. The other hand, we have an individual system in US and China. And 2019, we started the current connected car service as a second generation with Microsoft and Alliance Renault. We established a joint platform with Renault, and we had a plan more than 10 million cars and global scale. And our business goal, maximize the platform performance and global coverage with cybersecurity standards, and enhance driver experience, simplify and optimize vehicle devices. That is a Nissan history.
Thank you, Sato-san. So let's move now to the next section and understand a little bit more what is the program that we are delivering. So AV Next, let me start by saying that is the core of the cloud part of connected services, right? And is at the moment, right, one of the world's largest connected vehicle platforms. Just to give you an indication, at the moment, we have more than 5 million connected cars. Just as a reference number, Tesla has sold around 4 million cars in its lifetime. We are delivering services in more than 100 countries. The platform is generating more than 30 terabytes of data ingestion per month. And the platform is processing 2 billion of messages per day. Again, just as a comparison, Twitter processes around 500 million tweets per day. But what is the functionality that the platform is delivering? Let me hand over quickly to Frederic to describe the key elements of the functionality.
Yes, so here we divided the list of functionality within four categories. The first category being the lifecycle management. So this is really about managing the full life of the vehicle, as it said, starting from the plants, actually, right at the beginning, straight out of the manufacturing line. The vehicle is connected, and we are able to track them until the delivery, for example, in Europe for Renault, and then of course we are managing the customer journey, handing over the vehicle to the customer. The customer can buy, renew, some commercial offer, and this is all going through this platform, also connected with our CRM and this kind of system from our different brands, actually. Second type of services is all about updating the vehicle. We started with the first generation of vehicles having 2 ECUs being able to updatable, I would say. Now with the next generation, latest generation of vehicles, we added up to 30 ECUs that can be updated, and as part of them, we have all the ADAS ECU that are super important now on the vehicle, so they can be updated. So we are doing a massive campaign update through OTA. Even the customer are usually most of time you don't even notice them. So that's help us bringing new feature and keep the vehicle up to date, I would say. The third one is the remote commands. So we have some of them, not much, to be honest, at the moment, but we are able to do some basic feature like open, close the door, start the engine, precondition the vehicles, start AC, stop AC, plan charge, this kind of thing. That is particularly for in the EV case, quite super important now as a feature. That's a mandatory feature, I would say, for EV. And the last one is all related to the data. So our vehicle, as it's shown in this slide, vehicle are creating plenty of data. So we are using those data, obviously, to show information to end users. But also we are leveraging data for internal process. Could it be for maintenance, part reliability, also study, or creating new business? We are, for example, selling data in, so we are starting the data trading business in that case, etc. So, well, obviously data is super sensitive due to privacy, etc. So we are taking this also super seriously internally, but there is, plenty of data to be shared, and we are looking at creating new business for that, of course. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Frederic. So let's move to the next part now and understand at a very high level how connected car services are architected. So it starts with a car, right, where the cars, as mentioned earlier, have onboard devices, and through those they connect to the cloud, to the telecom network, where AV Next is a core cloud component that ensures connectivity with the cars and with a wider ecosystem, which includes end users or drivers. It includes the dealers, it includes the factory, and other backend services. So in that sense, AV Next is a core that brings all the ecosystem together. Let me hand over quickly to Sato-san to give some real life examples about the ecosystem and expectations across the board from the platform.
Yes. So for the customer, we have a lock and unlock service for vehicle. When customer forget the lock for her vehicle, so customer can control from smartphone to lock the door by smartphone. And the other hand, in the dealer, the dealer operator can understand vehicle health information by dealer system. So, before coming customer, dealerman can understand the vehicle failure. And in the plant, we have an automatic vehicle enrollment function in factory. So as soon as vehicle launched in the outside the factory, connected vehicle can connect to the VNext and automatically enrollment. That is a use case of this connected car service.
Thank you, Sato-san. So I hope this gives an overview of the services that are being delivered. Obviously, it's a very big program and difficult to capture in a short introduction, but we move now to the next part and understand a little bit more what is the AV Next program and what is the associated delivery model behind it. More specifically, in the program, we receive, so this is a program that is run by the Microsoft Industry Solutions team in partnership with Renault and Nissan, as we discussed. And it starts by receiving various types of requirements from Renault and Nissan, functional requirements, or how the functionality of the platform is going to be. We'll receive FinOps requirements. We'll explain in more detail later about FinOps. Cybersecurity requirements, then we have requirements coming in from various projects that are running in parallel. And then, of course, we have input from the technical debt and continuous improvement plan. All of those feed to a unified backlog, which is then prioritized and delivered from DevOps, from a number of DevOps teams following the Agile Scrum methodology, which means we are delivering major releases in production every 3 weeks. The platform is also supported in production on 24/7 basis, and it covers multiple regions. The program, of course, provides the governance of all of those activities and a set of operational production level SLAs that we'll also quickly review later. This is delivered by a team of around 200 people, right? That is spread in more than 16 countries and operating on a 24/7 basis. So the program has some history. It's a long-running program. It started, and as mentioned earlier, in 2016. It took a period to define the platform, develop, and test the initial version, and it went live in 2019. During that time, there were a number, as the program was growing and also becoming more critical to Renault and Nissan's business, there were a number of, I would call, governance challenges that the program would faced. I will summarize quickly what were those, and in the following slides, the following sections, we'll discuss in more detail what we did to address each one of those. So the first one was that the program did not fully drive the expected business outcomes. We had a situation where we had multiple stakeholders, noting here to everyone that this is a 3-party agreement. So we have Renault, Nissan, and Microsoft, and working under one contract. And that created the complex set of stakeholders, created some misalignment between what were the expected outcomes and what were actually was being delivered, with the most notable gap being the gap in expected and actual cloud cost. The second top-level challenge is that the platform specifications evolve at a fast pace, right? So this is a very dynamic platform where functionality is added very fast, right? Usage increases and the number of connected cars increases drastically. In simple terms, the platform is doubling in size every year, and as a result, sometimes business architectural and technical requirements evolve fast, making some technical decisions obsolete quickly. And the final part of the governance challenge is that this is a delivery of a global service, right, that has different requirements, conditions, and regulations per region, and it is also being delivered by a large team with a significant diversity in terms of skill set, experience, culture, time zones, all around the world. So these were some problems or some challenges that were faced, and we'll go in the following sections to discuss one by one what we did to address those. It's important to note here that in a program like this that is so large, complicated, right? You need to do many things correctly, right? Our intention here is to focus on what are the most important ones, right? The ones that if you get right, you solve 80% of the problem, right? Those critical elements and critical learnings that tell us, and this is what we're going to discuss, is what we did and how we did it in order to give the confidence also to the audience that if those principles are in place, a large part of those challenges would be addressed. So we'll start with the first one, and this is around alignment of program delivery scope and customer outcomes. So what is the challenge here? Let me repeat a little bit. In this case, the program at some point was not fully driving the expected business outcomes. So we had a set of expectations coming from multiple stakeholders. Then we had a scope that in some cases was not very clear or not fully aligned with these outcomes. And we also had a large team, a complex delivery model that not fully always aligned with the scope and the expectations. So the result is that the program is not eventually driving the expected business outcomes, right? And from our perspective, we took 3 steps in order to address this challenge. So the first step is establishing or re-establishing a common understanding of Renault and Nissan's expected objectives and outcomes from the program. Once we do that, it becomes important to align the program's contracts to deliver those outcomes. And the third step is it's important after the first 2 are completed is to align also the program's organizational and governance structure to support and work towards those outcomes. Before I go to explain a little bit more in these steps, just let me highlight that this is something very important and relates to scope management. But what we are saying here is we're taking it one step further, right? And how do we put the effort to understand what the customer is trying to achieve and align the program to that? And this is, in many cases, a very important element of the value that the program managers, project managers, program directors bring in the conversation in such programs. So it is not easy, right? It's a process, a lengthy process that requires a lot of effort and commitment to achieve this alignment. In our case, if I elaborate a little bit more on step 1, in order to establish a common understanding across a program of the Renault and Nissan's objectives, we use the OKR framework, or objectives and key results. Our intention here is not to go in detail on the framework. It's more around to use as an example how we use the framework, right? So we made sure we captured all the objectives of the customer and then transform each objective into a number of key results. Here I'm highlighting on one example, right? We had an objective to build a cost competitive platform. Then we translated this into a number of key results that needed to be delivered by the team in terms of cost per car, in terms of average productivity and overall platform support cost. So we did the same across all objectives. And of course, this is a first step that creates a clear definition and an agreement across everyone about what we're trying to achieve with measurable outcomes. Of course, the next step is to make sure that there is clear ownership of OKRs, right, within the program leadership team, and making sure there is this consistency of regular reviews. And after this is embedded in the delivery rhythm, is also making sure that OKRs are reassessed periodically, because in long-running programs, objectives do evolve over time. The second step was to align the delivery work with the customer outcome. And in that case, we found some interesting and what I would say common scenarios of misalignment between delivery and customer outcomes. What I mean by that is that in some cases, the delivery work was not aligned with the program scope and was not driving the customer outcomes. And we had 3 specific scenarios like that. The first one was we had some cases within the big program, right, delivering a lot of work, where some work that was being delivered was unnecessary or not contracted. Well, in other words, not relevant. Why? Because it was not really driving any customer outcome. Second scenario that we found was that the program was not delivering necessary work. So in that case, we have a program objective or a customer objective. So we need to achieve an objective, but then there is no effort or team associated with this. There is no scope associated with this. And as a result, we're not able to drive the expected objectives. And the third scenario, which I'm sure those scenarios are not unique, right? And across different complex programs. The third one was about that the program had to was forced to deliver necessary work, but without really being scoped, without being in place, right? And just to give some examples to make it real here, in terms of scenario 2, right? Maybe I use my pointer here as well. It's a little bit slow. So in scenario 2, the program is not delivering the necessary work. We introduce new scope, right? The FinOps work that we'll discuss later, some extensions of the cybersecurity work were critical elements that we introduced. And in the third scenario, where the program was forced to deliver work that was not really initially planned, a good example here is a technical backlog. Big complex platforms like this one have some technical backlog that needs to be addressed, and this was not originally considered, but then you have to be up to date if you want to maintain the stability and the performance of the platform. All of those scenarios drive suboptimal program outcomes, and the effort that we did, right, and this is the important, significant effort, I might say, was to ensure that we have full alignment between what we're delivering, what's the program scope, and what we're trying to achieve. And once we do that, we are able to move to start delivering the optimal program outcomes. So the last step of aligning delivery scope and customer outcomes is about taking the customer outcomes and the contract and aligning the organizational governance structure as well. So how it's important, what we did was we aligned the program structure with the OKRs and the objectives. We made sure we have clear and defined responsibility for the program roles. But the most important thing is we had clear accountabilities on the program leadership team and our leads on certain objectives. It needs to be clear who is driving which outcome. And going one step further, it's important to provide the empowerment and ownership of those objectives. It's important to empower the leads to deliver those, to provide the right team and the right support to be able to deliver on the objectives. And once everything is in place, it's just a matter of aligning the governance structure, the meeting structure, the reporting structure across those OKRs to make sure that a single version of the truth is communicated, agreed, and is transparent and clear to everyone. So that concludes in a very high level the first important learning we wanted to highlight. So I will move to discuss a little bit the second learning, which is about proactive control and optimization of cloud cost. I'll start again with the challenge that we try to address here. In our case, we have a fast, as I mentioned earlier, a fast changing platform where the cloud cost was growing fast and in some cases exceeding planned budgets. This is happening for a number of reasons. I'll go through very quickly some of them, right? The first one is that the platform is growing fast in terms of number of cars and usage. In simple terms, as I said before, it doubles every year. In addition to that, we introduce a lot of new functionality that requires more resources every time. And just an indication, we deliver more than 15 major releases per year on new functionality in the platform. Other reasons are that there is a legacy architecture and storage requirement that continuously grow and sometimes evolve and change, but without always considering the cost implications. In addition to that, there might be architectural changes that are non-cost optimized or technical decisions that are not cost optimized and might have cloud cost impact that is not considered. And finally, sometimes it's also about the visibility to budget decision makers about how functionality or how new functionality is going to impact cloud costs, right? And how we're going to optimally design this new functionality. In simple terms, all of these factors led us in a situation where cloud cost was actually growing fast, unpredictably, and with no control. And this was a challenge that we needed to address. For this, we introduced a FinOps function. The FinOps function, in a quick summary, this is not going to be an in-depth FinOps session, right? But at a high level, FinOps is a set of practices, processes, systems combined with team culture, aiming at increasing an organization's ability to understand and optimize cloud costs. The objective is to align the cloud cost users with business value, to make sure that technology expenses are predictable, manageable, and transparent, and can be optimized for the needs of the business. So as I said, I'm not going to go in the details. FinOps is a big chapter, right? But I'm going to describe how we implemented FinOps, right? And in the next slide, I will describe also the amazing results that were achieved. FinOps from our program it is 3 layers, right? The first layer, the starting point, is to be able to monitor, control, and forecast cloud cost. It's about being able to have clear control on what, how, and when, and why the cloud cost is changing. And after you establish this control, you are able to start providing accurate forecasts in the shorter, medium, and long term, and also give a good estimate of what is the cloud cost that's going to be introduced by new functionality. The next layer, where we become more advanced, is you start focusing on cloud cost analysis, starting to understand the cloud cost drivers, also understanding the different patterns within your systems, and eventually be able to understand cloud cost optimizations, either at infrastructure, application, or architecture level. And once you achieve this level of mastery, then it becomes a matter of planning and implementing those cloud cost optimizations in order to drive the expected outcomes. In our case, there was a period in the program where this was a very, very important priority. And in this slide, I would like to summarize the impact that FinOps had on one of the objectives of the program. More specifically, you see in this slide here, where we have the number of messages and how they evolve, the monthly number of messages on the platform in the blue lines, and in the green lines we have the monthly total cloud cost of the platform. And over the horizontal axis we have the different months, and we see, if we start from a relative number of 100, how the monthly messages, which indicates increased usage of the platform, increased 7 times, while the cloud cost actually decreased by almost 60%, which means that eventually we achieved an 18 times outcomes to cost increase for the platform, which is a pretty amazing result, and might be worth a more dedicated session in the future about the team that actually delivered this. So this summarizes the second learning, and then I would like to move to the third learning, which is about establishing program performance metrics. And I will start by the challenge, right? What is a challenge that we are trying to address here? It starts by, as we hopefully everybody understands that it's a very complex and large program. So sometimes it is difficult to have a single version of the truth on program performance, right? Because there are multiple stakeholders, different views, different priorities. There are also multiple teams delivering different outcomes. So sometimes it feels it's not clear what are the targets that we're trying to achieve, or what are the targets for each team to achieve. And of course, this lack of a single version of the truth in some cases creates difficult conversation, because each party comes with subjectives and qualitative views. Sometimes it's difficult to agree what are the top attention areas, and it's also difficult to make decisions in terms of resource prioritization. Where do you put your priorities as first? What are your most important problems?
Just under 20 minutes left, Michaelis.
Yes, thank you, Anthony. So going then to how we approach this this challenge. From our side, we introduced KPIs across the key functions of the programs and key stages of the program. So we introduced cloud cost KPIs. We introduced delivery KPIs and a set of elaborate platform performance and support KPIs and SLAs. Also in the background, we had a number of technical backlog KPIs and smaller KPI metrics that are not visible here. Of course, what is important in those KPIs, it has to be a joint view and jointly agreed. They need those. It's important that those KPIs represent what are the real needs of the customer, right? And give a good view of whether we are performing well or not in specific areas. So the use of the right KPIs enable us to have a very good view of the program, where we are performing well, what we need to do better, right? And in addition to that, in the program, because of the criticality, the mission critical nature of the platform and the scale of the production environment, we also introduced a unique, I would say, SLA SLO framework to achieve the production, the platform's operational needs. And what we do in this framework, we take various inputs like the new functionality that is coming on the platform, by different business needs and priorities, continuous performance improvements and learnings that we have, or other random requirements, in order to define a set of service level indicators. I'm giving an example below where we start with a new business functionality. And then for a new business functionality, for example, we might define the time to process a request as a service level indicator, SLI. And the SLIs will drive a number of SLOs, right? The SLOs will give a good, will set some targets on what we need to achieve. For example, in this case, the SLO of the example on the bottom line here would be 90% of requests to be within 2 seconds, right? A random SLO. And from those SLOs, what are the most important ones for the customer's business is to, they will be converted to SLAs, to service level agreements that are contractual SLAs. The important point to highlight here is that this is not a static view, because the business needs, the platform evolves, different requirements over time for various reasons. This framework is dynamic in the sense that SLAs evolve as the platform evolves. And this has been instrumental in helping us, again, meet the customer's requirements, but also ensuring we have a full clarity across all stakeholders where we are performing well, what are the top attention areas to improve. So I'm almost finished. So I'll go to the last part, which is actually very important. It is last, but it is very important. And this is about how we perform, how we create a high-performing team culture. In our case, the challenge is a little bit more complicated, right? Because we have a program that is delivered by a large, global, and diverse team, reminding everyone that we have people in more than 16 countries. This means significant differences in terms of time zones, work culture, practices, communication approach, holiday periods. In addition to that, the team, because of the nature of what we deliver, has a very wide set of skill set, experience, and personalities, right? So the challenge is, how do we achieve to such a diverse team to drive towards, to get commitment and drive towards certain program objectives? In that sense, we applied a number of principles. First one, embrace diversity, right? Diversity is part of our team, and it's key to understand and embrace people's different perspectives, backgrounds, ways of thinking, in order to create a great working environment where all the great ideas can be expressed and can be considered, right? But it's also more than that. It's also about acknowledging that people have different skills and making sure to leverage people's unique skills and abilities and strengths in the right position of the program, right? We don't expect that everyone being the same, but leveraging the skill that each individual has. And at the end of the day, it's very important to listen first before making judgment, right? Which is sometimes easier said than done, but it is super critical. Second principle is drive a data-centric governance, right? As people say, making governance visible and visual. So I talked a lot about establishing key metrics and report the status of those so that we have transparent and clear view how we are progressing. In some cases, it's very important to help and guide the team to come up with metrics that where those do not exist, right? And this is a difficult process to do, but very, very useful. And once we do that, it's important also for everyone on the program to have the attitude that what is the value of the metric? How we're performing? Is there a deviation? And if yes, why? And what are we doing about it so that we're fully transparent and covering proactively what needs to happen? Having a positive attitude is very important, right? And the program's leadership team is instrumental in driving this positive attitude, because there will always be complexities and challenges in a program like this. So it's important to adopt a positive mindset, but also adopt a mindset of making problems smaller rather than bigger. What it means, this means that sometimes in very complex situations, it's very difficult to solve everything 100%, right? But this shouldn't prevent us from adopting the mindset of, okay, can we solve 90% of the problem? Can we solve 80% of the problem? Can we break down the problem in smaller parts so that we are able to progress and solve the problem? And at the end of the day, it's about taking the lead in solving problems, right? Because problems will not be solved by themselves. It's adopting this this attitude, right, and mindset is what are we doing? How are we taking the lead in solving problems? Next principle is about continuous improvement and best practice mindset. So in our case, we define quarterly improvement objectives, and we try to apply proven practices, or where not possible, establish a best practice. So if we have a challenge to solve, let's solve it the right way. Let's solve it as a best practice, either use a proven practice or establish a best practice. And final principle is proactiveness. Proactiveness, it's key in project management. What I would say here is proactiveness is also, it's all about what are the practices that we embed in our day-to-day activities, in our governance level that drive proactiveness. So it's about putting the practices in place that will make us proactive. In our case, we introduce a lot of things, as I described earlier, like the FinOps, SLAs, OKRs, and the regular reviews that we have with those make all of us more proactive by design. So finally, I would like to conclude with by highlighting that at the end of the day, the most important enabler is a strong collaborative culture, right? Because nothing of the previous learnings is possible if you don't have a great collaboration culture, right? Which I believe we have achieved in the program. And I would like to thank Frederic and Sato-san for being here today with us, and for the great collaboration that we have been able to establish in order. And this great collaboration is based on empathy, trust, respect, communication, low self-orientation, and flexibility. Because as you can understand, there are difficulties in such a complicated program, and that we need to address on a day-to-day basis. But it is a strong collaborative culture that help us grow and address all of those challenges. So I see Frederic. Frederic Sato-san, do you want to add anything, or you raise your hand? I see.
No. Well, I was raising my hand by mistake, but thank you very much, Mialis, and I think you have been a great enabler also to make this project very successful. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Frederic. I think we reached to the end of the planned session, so we go to the Q&A. So if there are questions, please raise your hand. I will also check.
Michaelis,
Yes. Yes.
There's 3 questions in the chat, Michaelis. One from Jackie Fagan. Did you have a lot of iterations of the OKRs?
Excuse me, if I have
Did you have a lot of iterations of the OKRs?
I would say the OKRs, we periodically review them on the quarterly basis, but the actual changes happen on a yearly basis. So it's not that the OKRs are being changed on a monthly basis. I hope this gives you an indication of the frequency of the OKR reviews. And again, it's not a massive change every time. Sometimes we might evolve on a quarterly basis, but these are small changes from the baseline OKRs that we're using.
Okay. One question from Oral Gorel regarding scope. What would your recommendations be to ensure scope definition to be more accurately done at the beginning in similar projects? And moreover, do you have further recommendations for effective scope management of similar innovation projects?
Yes, so this is a great question, right? And it's also difficult to answer, right? Because what I would do first is closer alignment at the early stages when you set up a contract between the delivery teams and the sales teams and the customer in order to make sure that objectives that the customer is trying to achieve are converted from the beginning into scope and delivery outcomes, right? This is, and in many cases, I have seen it before and have seen it also recently where there are these big deals that are being scoped, but sometimes it's not clear, right? The initial contract, how it will drive the expected outcomes or the expected business case. So that's one. The second element, from my perspective, this is where the project managers, program managers, and program directors come into play, because this process in long-running programs is also dynamic. And this, it starts by the continuous collaboration and the willingness to ask, like I asked Sato-san, I asked Frederic several times, what are you trying to achieve so that I convert it to OKRs, right? So that we then convert it to put the right teams in place to do what you want to do. And this evolves over time. So it's a constant effort. It's not an easy one. It takes effort, but it's something that is, I would say, it's the responsibility of the program manager, the program director, to continuously maintain this alignment. And OKRs is a framework that helps on this, that if you have a standard framework to follow, it helps you very much to have these conversations. By the way, Frederic, Sato-san, feel free if you want to add anything on the questions. Feel free if you have any comments. I thought you wanted to add something, but maybe.
Well, I mean, I know. I think that, I mean, having a good starting point is key. But I think, as you said, I think most importantly, it's important to have the proper governance to evolve, and so that we can make sure that we are always aligned. And it's a complex program that started a long time ago. It's keep growing. So it's important to have ways to synchronize, align all together, so that we can keep track of what are the most important things we need to deliver at the moment. That may, and we know that will change over time. So that's, I mean, it's super important, I think, and that's what we learn, I think, on our side with this program.
Very good. There's a couple of more questions in the chat, Michaelis, but I think we're starting to run out of time, so we might try and take those offline and put together a bit of a montage of questions and answers, so we can see how we can maybe take some of these questions offline. Jackie, I know you're on the line there, so do you want to maybe close with some suitable comments?
Yes, certainly. Thank you so much, Michaelis. That was really, really interesting. And congratulations to all the work that's been done. I definitely think that for the team here and for the 100-odd people on the call, that there is a lot of takeaways that we can get from the OKRs, doing your objectives against your key results, and the FinOps. Absolutely, we reach out to you again to look maybe to do a deep dive into that, because when you look at the benefits of it, you're 18 plus, you know, in terms of the decrease in the costs for the cloud. It was absolutely definitely some benefits of it. And the one thing that struck me with the three of you guys is that definitely you have a collaboration, you have a lot of work must have been done in the background to actually get the team synergies to work together as one team, because it definitely comes across that. Now I'm sure there was communication challenges, but everyone was going towards the same direction, so that really shone out. So thank you very, very much for a really enlightening presentation. And as Anthony says, with the comments and the questions, we might share them across to you, Nicholas, and then we'll share it out to the rest of the team. So again, thank you very much, everybody. It just warrants me to say, for anyone that doesn't know, I'm the outgoing president of the Ireland chapter, and we have a couple of events. I know Peter mentioned them earlier on coming up. We have International Project Management Day, which is on the 2nd of November. So I'd encourage you all to honour or buy a free cuppa to someone just to say, yes, well done, you are doing a brilliant job of work. We also have our AGM on the 23rd, and we've another webinar, but you can get all the information on that on our site, Ireland, PMI Ireland. So thank you again. Very, very enlightening. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you, Jackie, and thank you everyone for attendance. It's been an honor for us to get the opportunity to present. I think I'd like to thank Frederic and Sato-san for their leadership in the program, but also for joining the session. So thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you.